Here we go. Right, thank you everybody. Welcome to our July Lunch and Learn. Today's topic is about sustainable transport. We've got two speakers, and we've also got another additional speaker who's already been in touch to say they want to tell people about a project for the Any Other Business. So we'll crack straight on. Our first speaker today is going to be Dave Savage from Community Rail Lancashire. So over to you, Dave.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm just going to try and share my screen. Can we all see that?
Yep.
Yeah, we can see some slides. Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. So my name's Dave Savage. I'm a community rail officer who works for Community Rail Lancashire. We're based in Accrington. And Accrington's an eco station, and we do a lot of education at the station. And you might be able to see, if you've not been to Accrington before, underneath the Accrington sign, we have a classroom. We call it the bunker, so it's underground. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, about some of the work we do to promote sustainable travel. So just a bit of background about Community Rail Lancashire itself. We are a not-for-profit organisation, and Community Rail Lancashire acts as an umbrella body for 4 Lancashire Community Rail partnerships. So we work with the Clitheroe line, the East Lancashire line, the South Fylde line, and the West of Lancashire Community Rail partnerships. There are 7 members of staff altogether. Not all of us are full-time. 6 directors. Our base is in Accrington, but we do work right the way across Lancashire and even over the hill over into Yorkshire. And we are funded by the train operators. So our main funders are Northern Trains, but we also get core funding every year from Avanti West Coast, TransPennine, Blackpool Council, and Mersey Travel. And then the officers we've got lots of different projects we're involved in. So we apply for project funding to run the projects that we are involved in, which I'll touch on a little bit later. So I'm not sure how clear that map will be on the screen, but this just gives you an idea of the vast area that we work on. So these are the lines that I mentioned on the last slide. So we work along all these routes here. We do there's lots of station adopter groups will work on these stations, and we have lots of volunteer groups, and we support them at Community Rail Lancashire. We do education sessions. You know, if you've gone along these stations and seen the planters and the artwork at the stations, they're often done with Community Rail Lancashire and with the station adopter groups. But we also have 2 officers that work, and they live over in Bradford, so they do a lot of work over in Yorkshire. So really the map could be expanded. And then the project I'm involved with Avanti West Coast stretches the entire length of the country. So we get ourselves about quite a lot at Community Rail Lancashire. So I'm going to focus a little bit on the work of the education team. So just some stats from last year in 2023. We engaged with over 8,800 young people, and we educated them in a variety of things from rail safety, careers, sustainability, building confidence up, through a huge number of exciting projects. We work with primary schools, secondary schools, colleges, right across Lancashire and Yorkshire, and we deliver sessions in a number of different ways. We may go out to schools to deliver sessions. We take school groups out on train trips. One of the great things that Northern do, they provide each of us with a group pass, so we can take up to 35 people on Northern Train at any time. We have school groups come to visit us at the Eco Station in Accrington as well. So there's a wide variety of things we do to engage young people. There's just a few things that we've been up to more recently. Last month in Accrington, we had the Accrington Eco Fest, and this is organised by Prospects Foundation, and they have an event in the town centre. So we had a stall where people could come to chat to us about all things to do with the railway. We talked about sustainability, we talked about the Eco Station, We also have here a station adopter group called Stations of Welcome. And this station adopter group is a group of Asian ladies. So I think it might be the only Asian lady station adopter group in the country. So they do work here. They meet every Tuesday. They do some work on the gardening. And they've recently been involved in a project in Silverdale to learn about woodland conservation. And they've got another 3 sessions over the next few months. And some of you on the call may have attended the Northwest School Sustainability Conference, which took place at Ewood Park last month. So a fantastic event where we had hundreds of school children and their teachers come along to find out all about sustainability from local businesses and what they are doing. So we were there to talk again about sustainability in the rail industry, and we talked about the eco station and what we offer with education there. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of the projects that we've been involved in over the last year. In 2023, Northern funded a programme called Try the Train, and this was run by Catherine Kingdom, one of our officers. And the idea of this project is to increase confidence levels in using the railway as a form of transport. What we found is a lot of people are not confident using the railway, and they don't know how to buy a ticket, they don't know how to plan a journey. So the idea of this project is working with groups, the age ranges from 14 right up to 83, so a whole wide range of groups. And what they would have 4 workshops and 3 rail trips. So the first workshop would be like a baseline, if you'd like, to find out how confident they are using the railway, what the barriers are using the railway. And then they would go on with support to plan a journey and how to buy tickets. And they would be taken out on a rail trip. By the end of the project, the group would be planning their own journeys. They would be going out on the train with support from a facilitator. But as you can see, maybe on the right-hand side from the stats, by the end of this project, over 86% of people more confident in planning a train journey. So this was really successful, and Northern have given us more funding to run the project again this year. So the project I'm involved with is called Feel Good Field Trips. This is a project funded by Avanti West Coast. The aim of this project is to provide up to 5,000 children a free field trip along the West Coast main line. So that stretches all the way from London, Euston, right up to Glasgow, Edinburgh, also into North Wales, Manchester, Liverpool, and Blackpool. Most of the schools I work with are from disadvantaged areas and have high numbers of pupil premium or free school meals. Many of the children that I take out have never been on a train before. So we're up to now, over 4,000 students have been on a Feel Good field trip since the start of last year. I've planned almost 170 trips, and I try and go on a majority, as many trips as possible to support. So I think I've been on 110 of them trips. So you quite often find me up and down the West Coast main line on an Avanti West Coast train. A typical session would be I would meet the school in the morning. I would then talk to them about rail safety. I then take them on the train. We have a booklet. One of the big things we talk about is how sustainable rail travel is. We then go to an exciting destination somewhere on the West Coast main line. Lunch is provided for the group and an educational activity before they return home. Now, I could spend all day here talking about the huge variety of projects that we do at Community Rail Lancashire, from where we've got other speakers today. So, as I mentioned, we work with a large number of station adopter groups across the network who maintain planters, keep the station tidy, they do art projects. We do a lot of work trying to connect local communities up using train trips. So we've worked with local organisations in Blackburn, Arts to Heal, football clubs, church groups, community solutions in Accrington. We do a lot to try and Richard Watts has done some work trying to improve signage at stations. So, for example, at Accrington Railway Station, the bus station's about a 5-minute walk away, but it's not obvious where to go. So we're trying to improve that connectivity at stations, from bus stations to train stations and so on. And we also promote a lot of walks, trying to get people out walking, but using the train. On the Community Rail Lancashire website, there's a number of films and guided walks which you can be part of. There's also the Yorkshire Dales Explorer, which is a new service which operates on a Saturday. And there's a train goes from Manchester via Blackburn, Clitheroe, and up to Ribblehead in Yorkshire Dales. So people can get the train and then go exploring Yorkshire Dales, and then the train back is about 6 o'clock in the evening. So we try and encourage people to ditch the car, go out walking, but by using the train. So finally, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Eco Station. If you've not had a chance to visit the Eco Station, it's highly recommend we can arrange a visit here. So this station was built in 2010. Richard Watts, Chair of Community Rail Lancashire, he was involved in designing the building. We have solar panels on the roof of the building. We have solar panels in the car park to power the lights. We have a rainwater harvesting system to use for the toilets. The whole way the building was designed was eco-friendly and to maximise the sunlight with the ticket offices. The curbstones are made from recycled plastics. We have an eco garden where we've got a couple of apple trees, and we're working with local groups to grow our own some of our own vegetables as well and attract wildlife. So one of the key things we do at the station is education. You saw in the first picture, you might be able to tell we have we call it the bunker. So inside the bunker where I'm sat at the minute, we have a classroom. And in this room, we do a huge variety of activities. A big part of it is rail safety. We do lots to do with careers. So we have a dressing up section. More and more schools are interested to visit now to learn about sustainability. I give tours to show what makes the station eco-friendly. Also, we talk about sustainable rail travel. So I've had school groups come from Lancaster and Chorley and Preston area want to come to the station specifically to learn about this, sustainability. We do a lesson, the picture on the top is steam to green, looking at how train travel has changed over time and then how it might become even greener in the future. And then we have gardening groups as well. Groups we work with at the station, huge variety of groups. Last week, the pictures at the top were from a group last week I had. So it was a Cubs group. The Cubs and Brownies and Scouts and so on, there's a new badge that they can earn from doing some work at stations called Platform for Change. So if anyone's interested, you can get in touch with me about that. We have school groups. We've had home education groups. I do work with Accrington College, and they come down for a session. But it's not just children we work with. We work with lots of community groups, such as Lancashire Women. It's been used as a meeting space for the local councillors, and we do work with Prospects Foundation and Hyndburn Green Spaces. And recently, we got some information signs put up and some artwork put up to show what makes Accrington an eco station. I lived in Accrington 14 years, and I never knew about the eco station and the bunker until I started working here. So I think we should be proud of what we've got and we should be promoting it. So we've got artwork put up on the station now and on the platform to show people what makes this station so special. So if anyone likes any more details, I'll take some questions in a second, but if anyone wants any more details, I'll put my email address on the screen. There's also we've got two websites. We've got Community Rail Lancashire, and then we have a Train Ed website. So the Train Ed website focuses more on the education work that we do. So feel free to get in touch if anyone's got any groups that they work with that will think will benefit from maybe a visit to the eco station, or they want the officers to come out to talk to people about rail safety, careers, sustainability, then please do get in touch. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. That was really interesting, and yeah, I think quite a bit eye-opening. I think for people who are used to using railways and don't think twice about getting on there and organising a trip. So I think some of those projects about giving people the confidence and getting them out and about on trains is really important, and vital skills that are going to help people access sustainable transport. So that's great. One question I will ask, the first question is, so I mean, it might be an easy one, but what one thing would you like people to do after this, after today, from your presentation?
Well, I mean, I suppose with the rail travel, it's I suppose using more sustainable travel, using the railway. But like I said, I'd welcome people to come and visit the station to see what we do. I think if you come to Accrington Eco Station, it's an eye opener when you come into the bunker and to see all the different work that we do. So yeah, feel free to get in touch and visit.
No. Yeah, great to see all the groups and things that access that come and talk to you. I mean, I'm involved in Scouts, so I'll definitely be passing around the details to lots of contacts for them to get involved. So yeah, does anybody else have a question for Dave? Julie's got your hand up.
I do, yeah. I've got two questions, Dave. One is, I was interested to hear what you said about the walking and using trains groups. What about cyclists? Groups of people cycling and using trains. Do you have you thought about doing that? Or is it because we can't get that many bikes on the trains?
This is the one barrier with trains. It's the number of bikes we can get on. It's a shame, really. So I'm not sure on northern trains you don't have to book the bikes on, but you can only get a certain number on if the train's busy. There are lots of cycling that.
How many bikes can you get on? You don't know.
Richard. Oh, I'm glad Richard's here.
Yeah, I can very, very quickly answer that. Normally, carrying of bicycles is at the discretion of the guard, so that would depend on how busy a train is. And secondly, the normal number on the train is 2. But Dave mentioned the Yorkshire Dales Explorer, and one of the things that we used to do with Dales Rail and now with the Yorkshire Dales Explorer is to, I wouldn't say actively promote cycling groups to come, because clearly, if you've got 10 cycles turning up, that's very difficult on a standard 2-car train. But we do have cyclists coming. So we have had some Sundays with more than 3 bikes on the train, and people then going off and exploring into the Yorkshire Dales. But the rule of thumb for Northern is 2 bikes per train, but more can be carried, but that's discretion of the conductor. A lot of other train operators of Anti-West Coast in particular and Transpennine, then you need to pre-book your carriage of your bicycle. But they will carry more because they have bigger facilities for carrying bicycles than the standard Northern train. Because you think of a Pendolino, 11 carriages, it's got a bit of space at either end where you can put your bikes, whereas on a 2-car 156 or a 3-car 195, you're a bit limited in terms of space. It is an issue. And in a sense, we do try and encourage. So things like Eco Escapes in the Ribble Valley is promoting hiring bikes. So you do your journey by train and you then hire a bike if you're going off, particularly if you're staying in the area, you hire a bike, whether it's an e-bike or a pedal bike, and then go off and explore the area partly with your bicycle. So there are ways around it. But, there is a problem. Well, not a problem, but the trains are not big enough. And, I'm hoping that when we get new rolling stock for Northern being developed, that maybe there's a bit more thought given to the provision for carrying more cycles.
Yeah, it's a problem with the UK stock, isn't it, of trains? But that's an interesting way of thinking of it. Routes that when you get there, you can hire a bike.
I think they've done the same. Avanti West Coast done the same with Penrith now, so they've linked in with a local bike hire company as well. So encouraging people to pick a bike up when they get to the other end of their journey. So there are things taking place now. Local organisations working with the stations, but taking your bike on a train we've got limited capacity. Yeah.
You don't hear about these things though, Dave. I don't want to hog the time here, but I'm just thinking as well, the Accrington Eco Station sounds brilliant. I'd love to visit that. Are there any plans to do it? I mean, this is Lancashire Community Rail Lancashire, isn't it? Is there any plans to do this in other parts, like Preston Station? Could we have a bit of that? That's an eco station.
I mean, Preston Station's a different. It's because it's a listed building. There's lots of and that's run by Avanti West Coast. But yeah, as far as I know, I don't know if there's any other plans to develop stations in an eco-friendly way. I mean, this was all designed by Richard. You know, back in 2010 when it was
2010, yes.
2010 it was built. You know, with the education in mind. I think sort of cost of developing other stations would probably limit. You know, I'm not sure what would happen, but maybe as stations improve in the future, they could become more sustainable. But that's down to costs and who owns the building, and it gets very, very complicated. But it's why it's brilliant to have what we've got here. We should showcase this, I think, in Lancashire as a key building in Lancashire, as a key sustainable building. And we're always looking to develop this building further. You know, me and Richard talked recently. We've got a gas boiler that we want to hopefully, you know, not have to use in the future. But even that's going to be complicated because the building's leased and so on. But we'd like to get rid of that and get more solar panels fitted. But things in the rail industry seem to take a long time. So it's going to be a work in progress, isn't it, Richard?
Indeed.
Thanks,
yeah, very
Dave.
good questions.
Yeah, we've got another question from Rachel. So do you want to go next, Rachel?
Hi. I commend all your work, Dave. We have done some work with Community Rail Lancashire in the past. You didn't mention us as one of the groups you work with, but I'm from Down syndrome, and we've done an arts project with yourselves, and the work that you're doing, especially around school children and introducing them to the railways. So my hand was up to say one thing, but just on the subject of bikes, when I was 15, myself and 4 friends went on holiday and we planned our little route, and we did it all independently. We went round 3 youth hostels in the Peak District, and we went on our bikes. And it shocked me recently to learn that you can't just do that now for 5 friends going off, you know, 15, you can't drive. And that you have to sort of pre-book things, and you can only fit 2 bikes. A friend, just the reason I found out, he went from Land's End to John O'Groats or something like that. He was doing some mad bike ride, and he didn't know when he was going to finish. And I don't even know if he did. But at some point, he said, "Right, I'm coming back now," and he couldn't get his bike on the train because of having to pre-book. And obviously, it's not something where he could have hired a bike at the other end. He was going from one end to the other. So yeah, that's why I found out about that. But in terms of going back to Down syndrome and our sort of commitment to being eco-friendly and green in our transport, it's obviously not as easy for us. And you said like one barrier is like bikes, but another barrier is disability and using the trains. And I saw what you were doing there around making people more confident. And the thing is, as a non-disabled adult, I'm not confident in booking a train journey. I booked one to Sheffield a few months in advance, but then you're thinking, oh, is there going to be a strike? Is it going to be cancelled? My daughter doesn't drive. She uses trains a lot, and they're always getting cancelled when she's trying to visit. But then you add disability into the mix. We took our dance performance collective to the Edinburgh Fringe to perform for 3 days. And they were just so excited about it, and they went on the train, which takes a lot of logistics to kind of plan it. We've got members in wheelchairs and so on. And when they were coming back, the trains got cancelled, so they were stuck in Edinburgh, a group of 20 to 30 people with wheelchairs with no means of getting back. And we put out an appeal, I think, on Facebook, and a coach company stepped in. Because it's not, it's quite difficult to, with the supporters and the carers and everything. And they ended up, it was a bit of a nightmare. They did manage to get back, but that kind of thing, it's happening all the time, that you're planning something. And then there's the question of accessibility as well on stations and onto the trains. I've heard, I know a friend who got stuck on a train. She couldn't get off where she wanted to, ended up having to go onto another station because it's not helped. So sorry to bring all the bad press, but it's those sort, when you live in those sort of experiences all the time, you really desperately want to ditch the car and go on the train. So how do you sort of answer those kind of things? Are you doing any work with the stations and railways? I know it might not, it's not your fault, but
no, but it's very, very, very good point. I mean, my job at the minute, I take school groups out up and down the country on Avanti trains, and majority of the time it's fine, but I've had trains cancelled when I've got 30 children, and I haven't got to the issue of wheelchairs as well, which you have to pre-book as well, and it does get very challenging. So, well, all these things, we feed back to the train operators. I think there's community rail officers, community rail partnerships. We have links with Northern and Avanti, and these are sort of things that we do report back on. And there are lots of schemes to try and improve accessibility. So, at Accrington railway station, for example, we've improved the ramp on one side. I'm trying to think. Is it platform one? Is it? The ramp
one, yeah.
Platform one.
Platform
The ramp was really, really steep, and for people in wheelchairs, it was almost impossible to get up. So they've made a new ramp to improve accessibility. So there are things taking place. I think a lot more could be done. But there are, access for all schemes. We're hopefully going to get a lift at Accrington railway station to get from one platform to the other. These things always take time. But there is lots going on. But I totally understand frustrations with traveling by train. I think when me and Richard did the workshop in UCLan a few weeks ago, and we talked about barriers to travel, and the same things came up all the time. It's the reliability, accessibility, and these are sort of things as community rail groups we try and feed back to the train companies and hopefully try and make some sort of difference, even just a little difference here and there.
Yeah.
But I understand your
bring the
frustrations.
negative vibes.
Yeah.
No, I understand. No, I totally understand it.
So if I
Can I just add in?
Very
Can I
quickly,
just add in
yeah.
to Rachel? It might be useful, Rachel, if you contact Katie Douglas in my team. She's our accessibility and inclusion officer, and she also sits on the Northern Accessibility User Group. So issues that you raised around Down syndrome and so on is well within her bag. And you said you'd done some work with us in the past. I'm frantically trying to trawl back through my mind to remember what either Emily Elliott or Daisy Chapman Chamberlain were doing that might well have involved yourself. But
it was a community arts a project involving several different groups. It would be last year 2023.
Okay, yeah. So as I say, it may be worth contacting Kate, and I'll drop the email address into the chat in a few moments. And might be worth contacting her.
Making connections. It just came to me. That was
what
what
it's
it's called.
Yes, that was Katie. So you'll have Katie's email address.
I'm going to have to move us on now. So thank you for that.
You are
I'll probably talk about that for much longer, but we're going to have to move on now to the next presentation, and we can always have other extra questions afterwards if there's still things people want to talk about. But if we can move on now to our second speaker, so that is Julie from Preston Pedals. And Rosie, you did have your hand up, so please, if you want to come back later on, please come back with your question, but we'll hand over to Julie now for the next presentation.
Well, it says it's still working on it. Right there. Is that? Can you actually see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Is it in slide mode? I don't know what mode it's in there because Teams is just. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, we can see it. Okay.
You can see that. Okay. Right. Okay. So thanks very much for inviting me along to talk about Preston Pedals, and I think I've got Rosie to thank for suggesting that we take part in this. But we are a member of the network, so it's nice to have the chance to speak to you today. Now I can see that some of the text is kind of missing off that, so I've put on there. It's just something from Cycling UK. I think that goes back to COP26, where they had this strapline: "This machine fights climate change." And some really interesting statistics about how changing to cycling has an impact, and is one of the low-hanging fruits, they say. So up until the end of this month, I work for UCLan, but I leave at the end of the month. But I'm the volunteer coordinator of Preston Pedals. And I'm just going to talk to you today about how I think I was involved. I was invited to talk about how we can reduce our impact on the planet by making sustainable choices. And obviously our focus is around cycling. Right, I'm going to try and move that on. It's added sad in a strange way. Right. So swapping to cycling helps protect the environment. Transport, as probably all of us know that's on this call because we're interested in transport, is the largest emitting sector of greenhouse gases, and the majority of the travel, those emissions are coming from cars, vans, or taxis, and in particular, the journeys that are under 2 miles, which is actually quite shocking. I think 45% of all trips in urban areas are under 2 miles. That means people are jumping in their cars, going around the corner to the shops, and you think, what? Now, and journeys below 5 miles make up 58% of all car trips. We're just so attached to our cars, aren't we? And active travel is really one of the few remaining low-hanging fruits where we can make a difference to sustainability, doing some climate action. And this is why Climate Action Preston, where we started from, was interested in looking at cycling, some kind of cycling initiative. So reducing those car journeys of under 2 miles would mean far less emissions and traffic on our roads. Literally a breath of fresh air for everyone. And I don't know about anybody else, but during lockdown, when there was fewer cars on the road and people came out, they felt safer. So even if people felt a bit wobbly on their bikes, they were out during lockdown. I don't know whether that's other people's experience, but certainly was here in the part of Preston where I live. And it was just that fewer cars encouraged people, and it just, the air quality felt different. So I put this slide in because this is our main mechanic, Frank, who's been there from the start, who used to run Ribbleton Bike Revival many years ago. And Frank said about Preston Pedals, yes, we help people fix bikes, but it's more about people and communities. It's the people attending that makes it worthwhile for me, he said. Meeting new people and making friends, it's not all about bikes. So I think we're about community. So a brief summary of Preston Pedals is that we started with this cycle campaign in 2021. Climate Action Preston lobbied the candidates at the time who were for the local elections, and we tried to get them to make a pledge to make Preston a more cycle-friendly city. There were a number of things we asked them to pledge to. We had an interactive cycle map. And basically, the whole map, we asked people to put where they wanted cycle routes, and just basically the whole map was covered of Preston. So there was, and over 3,000 people have been on and put where they would like those routes, and that's continued. People have continued to make their views known to Lancashire County Council when they've done the LSWIPs, the local cycling and walking infrastructure plans, and they've invited people's views about where the roads, cycling road routes should be. So then in 2022, we got some money. I applied to the big lottery for Together for the Planet, supporting climate action in local communities. Got that funding, and we created with the name Preston Pedals. So it was a pilot in between June 22 and February 23. We did bike repair and maintenance. We saved bikes from going to landfill. So we're reusing donated bikes. Preston City Council gave us a unit, which we still have in the Argyle Street waste management depot area. So we keep the donated bikes in there. We did an online cycle survey, and we got 70 responses, and people very much talked about safety and the lack of infrastructure for them to cycle in Preston. We've had some funding from the Open Society Foundation to develop our business plan, establish a more solid structure, if you like, as a cooperative, hopefully, to put a website together, to explore where we should be based. And we continue to grow. So Lancashire County Council have funded us twice. So they funded us in 2023 and they funded us now in 2024 under access or active travel funding. We've had funding from Cycling UK Big Bike Revival in the winter of last year, and we've had two small tranches of money as well this year. So we continue to offer do-it-yourself bike repair and maintenance, where we have a mechanic showing people how to repair things and how to maintain their bikes, and doctor bike sessions where people can come, bring their bike, and the mechanic will repair basic things for free. And sometimes things are not quite so basic that people bring along, and we do help if we can. We support to ride, so we organise lead rides as well. That's more recent. Now we have a little film. I think maybe I'll come back to that if there's time, but if not, there's a hyperlink in this presentation which perhaps is going to be shared with everybody. Okay, key achievements. We've been able to access climate-related and active travel funding. We've fixed and donated bikes to increase people cycling. So we know there's more people who've got access to bikes and who have had that bike in the shed or the garage for years, and they've not gone on it because they don't know how to repair a puncture. They've come along to our sessions and done that, and that means that's another person who's got the potential to get on a bike. We've engaged a wide variety of people across Preston in the different communities of Preston. Our sessions are very popular. Monthly Saturday rides are getting established, so we don't leave anybody behind. We do about 18-20 miles, and it's not as much as some of the other cycle groups. We've supported a mechanic to become SciTech trained in level 2. We've gone from 1 to 3 mechanics, including being able to offer work to a young guy, and training for ride leaders. We've paid for some ride leaders, including Muslim women who've gone on to run groups for Muslim women wanting to ride bikes, and we've purchased 6 e-bikes, which we have in the mobility centre in Preston. We offer pop-up bikes, Dr. Bike and Smoothie Bike at community events. We have a Facebook group. There's nearly 800 people on there, I think, bar 3 at the moment, maybe 2 or 3. Lots of collaborations with the local authorities, Preston City Council, Lancashire County Council, the funding. Through funding, we've helped families with getting bikes for young people, refugee families, City of Sanctuary, Talk English, the Mobility Centre, which I forgot to put on here. We collaborate with. We collaborate with lots of community groups, and actually we don't have a base, and that's what's an issue for us. But it does mean that we go out to where people are, and that makes us very accessible, I think. So what's next? Last slide. And offering affordable adult and child bikes. I know they do it in Accrington and Burnley, so Active Lancashire do it. There was nothing in Preston that was doing that. There was nothing doing the sort of doctor bike or the learn to fix in Preston. That's why we filled a gap. So we're hoping to do some of these donated bikes up and sell them on to put the money back into the project, but make bikes that are affordable, both adult and child bikes, because we have a lot of bikes at the moment. Becoming sustainable, that's what's next. A website, physical base with a plant-based cafe, hopefully. It's finding the right place, cooperative structure, having a business and funding plan. So these are things we're working on. We're looking at if we are going to have actual volunteers, having the quality volunteering mark. And our ambition is to make Preston a cycling community. So it's a big ambition, and that's it. There you are. So I don't think we've time for the film, but you can get it in here. And those are links to the Facebook page, and that's our very simple email address, prestonpedals@outlook.com, if anybody wants to contact us.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and great to see everything that's been done by volunteers, and great plans as well. Great to see plans for the future. If you have a question for Julie, that's great. What I am going to do, so we are inching through the hour, I'm going to ask Steve Rowe if he wants to do his presentation quickly, and then we'll come back and then we can have a discussion at the end, and then people can leave as they need to, or we can carry on a bit longer if people have got questions. So over to you, Steve.
Yeah. Harvey, can I just say I do actually have to leave. I thought there was just 2 speakers.
There was. Yeah, Steve's come in as sort of in any other business, so we do open it up to other people at the end to contribute. And Steve's been in touch and he has a presentation. But
it's just if there's any questions, I'm sorry, but I am going to have to leave because I said to you I had to leave at 15:15.
Yeah. No. Oh well. Are there any quick questions for Julie then, who will have to leave in a minute or two? But again, we can share the details. Chris.
Quick question, Julie. Do you know Emma McNally at Cycle Routes CIC?
I know Cycle Routes, but I don't know Emma McNally. No.
We do have some other cycle members of Lanxcan you may want to get in contact with. This is an idea. Yeah, to give you some ideas about where to locate the Preston pedals, maybe associated with a cafe, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be great. I think there's supposed to be a transport group, isn't there, through Lanxcan, and that would be good to come together with other people.
Yeah. Okay. That was it. Thank you, Harvey.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that's an idea as well for another event as well. Is getting the transport members together to have a discussion. Because I think we could go on with these topics and see it's obviously lots of support and interest in them. So thank you, Julie, and thanks again for contributing. If you have to leave, we'll say bye now. But we'll definitely share the video and we'll share your contact details. And then over to you, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Can you all hear me? A few noddings. I'll take that as a yes then. I'm trying to been a bit of a wimp here actually. For some reason it doesn't want to.
Do you want me to share?
If you could
try and share,
yeah, because I'm struggling to. It doesn't seem to appear on. It's on my computer. I can see it, but I can't find it on the on this thing. So I'll cancel this. I'll leave it. If you put it up, Harvey, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. The webinar program has stuttered quite a bit this year for a number of reasons, and none of them particularly good. But we're now in a position where we've just about worked out the program, and it's aimed very much at people like you and me, at individuals, because this is where a huge amount of carbon dioxide is emitted. Oh gosh, what do we do now? Oh, sorry, Harvey. Could you? I'm trying to move on. Could you move on to the next slide? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, in Lancashire, as this is quite easy, nearly 45% of all emissions come from residential properties and motor vehicles. and that was something which came up in the previous talk as well. And so this is our target: is how do we reduce these emissions to a point where we can all say that we're doing a bit. Yeah. So the webinar program is built around addressing these issues. So if you could put the next slide up, please, Harvey. Thank you. We did a webinar in May, which was all about the Northwest Net Zero Hub and engaging residents. We piggybacked on this, which will continue, but we're going to do a proper one in September, which is all about getting people out of their motor cars. Yeah, and I have an external speaker for that, who is a freelancer, but she works for the cycling commissioner in Greater Manchester. She's run an organisation called Walk Ride GM for many years, and is very, very well connected in this. She did a project a little while ago, which was lottery funded in Chorlton in Manchester, where the aim was to get people out of their cars, and they were actually quite successful. And what this lady's going to do, her name is Claire Stocks, some of you may know her, is basically take us through what she did in Chorlton and how she went about it. And a lot of that will all be about changing the way people behave, because that's the only way we're going to address some of these issues. Then in October, we're going to do one on food and food waste. We don't actually realise it, but in domestic settings, food and food waste is one of the biggest causes of greenhouse gases. We're going to have a session on reducing energy usage in November, and then in December we're going to do a session on the circular economy. How is it we can all become involved in reusing stuff or getting stuff to people who can reuse it, rather than it going into the bin and then into landfill. And then early in the new year, we're going to do something on volunteering, not actually getting volunteers, but getting the most out of volunteers, yeah, and giving them a good sense of purpose. And then the last slide is coming up. Thank you. I love this slide because it actually makes so much sense. Let's instead of the 7.7 billion, let's just think of the 1.5 million people in Lancashire. If they truly believed everything that they do would make a difference, it doesn't matter how big or how small. And that's the beauty of LancsCan, is that it has the ability to reach all the communities through the groups which are represented here and are represented through the LancsCan community. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. That's great. Yeah, and it's good for these lunch and learns are a bit of a snapshot. They are quite short. There's obviously a lot of appetite for discussions, but all these other events that we find out about through these lunch and learns and through the network that's where there's more time to really get your teeth into these issues and put your points across and discuss them. So we are coming towards the end now, so we're opening up for questions or any other updates from groups. Chris, I don't know if you've got an update for LancsCan generally, or if there's any other events that we want to promote that are coming up.
Thank you, Harvey. In terms of events, we don't have anything coming up for a few months apart from the webinar series, which Steve and the LancsCan comms team and myself are going to help kind of deliver. And Steve, you and I can have a conversation about the webinar program later, but really excited by that, and just put a little note in the chat box. We have in October the 30th, we have the first Lancashire Youth Climate Summit, which is being led by John McLeod from Blackpool Sixth Form College. We are, if none of you are members of the Lancashire Climate Action Network, and I see one or two names who I don't quite recognise, please get in contact with me. I'm going to put my address in the chat box now, and so you can get in contact with me. So, for example, is it Rosie Fennick? Hi, Rosie. Where are you from? Oh, you're muted. I didn't mean to pick on you, but
no, I'm trying to. No, sorry, I was trying to unmute on the wrong bit, I think there. And I was emailing someone at the same time. So I've just started a new job with Active Blackburn with Darwin, under the Together and Active Futures Sports England funding. But part of my role will be looking at trying to improve green spaces, blue spaces, and people utilising them for active travel across Blackburn with Darwin. So I just sort of randomly saw this on the Ribble Rivers Trust on Facebook last night, because I follow them quite avidly, and I thought, right, I need to jump on that straight away. So that's why I'm here today, basically.
Great. Yeah, please get in contact, Rosie, if you want to know more about the network. So thank you. We got the summer recess, okay, so we're not going to typically organising events when people are away, but the next Lunch and Learn event, Harvey and Sam, I could look it up, but do you know that off by hand?
It's what we're looking at. It's wildlife, and it is in September. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but we'll be sending information about that. Probably next week, I think.
Great. What I would also say, just to finally conclude, is that the LancsCan update communication for July will be coming out in about 10 days from now, end of July. I'm just trying to wait for more people to fill in the survey. Member survey, hint, hint. But what you'll find in the update communication coming out at the end of July, sent out to all LancsCan members, and we're now up to 140 organisations, which is very exciting, is a list of forthcoming events that have been put on by other LancsCan members. We do this every month, but look out for those if you're looking for future events related to the network and its members. Thanks, Harvey and Sam, and everyone for coming along.
Just for the date for the next Lunch and Learn, it's Thursday, the 26th of September, for your diaries.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, we have got a couple more minutes, so if anybody else wants to give an update or introduce themselves, it's great that we've got some new people along. Please introduce yourself and your organisation and promote what you do. Happy to encourage people to do that.
Dan, we have Dan Leon. Dan, can you hear us?
You're right.
Your name. Hi, Dan. Tell us about yourself.
I was just same as Rosa. I've just seen this on the Ribble Rivers Trust thing. I thought I'd come and take a look. But I'm from the environment agency. I'm a hydrology technical officer, so I mostly deal with water and water resources.
Oh, fantastic! Brilliant. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
And also, is it Cody? Are you there, Cody?
I am indeed. Hello.
Hi, Cody. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I've recently joined the Ribble Rivers Trust as a community engagement officer. So getting out and about into the community, get people out and involved. Yeah. Scouts,
Brilliant.
Cubs, Brownings, anyone?
Excellent. So quite a few river connections here between people in the group.
Yeah, well, no, I'm glad we put a post out just to promote the Lunch and Learn on our Facebook and social media. So I'm glad that people have picked that up anyway and have come along. So that's great feedback.
Thanks. I'll stop interrogating and picking on people now. It's what I do best, but I'll stop.
Oh, great. Anybody else want to give a shout out for an event or anything, or anybody going on exotic holidays or anything they want to tell us about?
On their bikes or by train?
Yeah, exactly. No, well, I think that's go for it, Rosie.
I'll just say something that I was a teacher a couple of years ago and went on one of Dave's school trip visits, and it was absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. Absolutely loved it. The kids loved it. We had a great time. Had a really easy way to explore our local area, even though we only had a little train journey. But if anyone hasn't heard of it before, then just get the word out there, because it was amazing.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll be doing the same. I'll definitely be passing out contacts for people that I know for that as well. So excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all very much for coming along again. Yeah, we hope to see you in September for the Wildlife Lunch and Learn, and please get in touch and sign up for all of the workshops, the webinar workshops that will be happening over for the rest of the year. Enjoy the summer. Hope you have a nice holiday. Hope you get some time off, and we'll see you again very soon. So thank you all.
Thanks. Special thanks to Dave.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.